Let's start by understanding the avoidant mindset, because nothing changes until you see clearly what you're dealing with. Avoidants aren't cold, and they're not cruel. They're afraid. They're afraid of feeling too much, afraid of being too dependent, and above all, afraid of losing control over their emotions. That fear manifests in ways that can feel like rejection, pulling away when things get intense, keeping intimacy at arm's length, or retreating into themselves when you want connection the most. But here's the crucial thing. This isn't about you. It's about their protective mechanisms built over years, sometimes decades, to shield themselves from vulnerability. When an avoidant senses closeness, their mind kicks into survival mode. They start to evaluate risk rather than connection. They test boundaries without even realizing it. They may seem distant or indifferent, but beneath the surface, there's a constant tension between desire for intimacy and the fear of being engulfed by it. And this tension often confuses the people who care about them, because it feels personal, like a reflection of your worth. Recognizing this pattern changes everything. You begin to see that chasing, pleading, or investing will never unlock the love or attention you seek. It isn't about persuading them to care. It's about seeing clearly the dynamics at play. Understanding their core patterns doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it gives you a lens to make informed choices. Here's the bottom line: you can't fix an avoidant. You can't force them to feel differently. What you can do is understand them, step back without resentment, and reclaim your own emotional sovereignty. Because clarity is power. And the moment you see the avoidance world as it really is, you no longer need to fight for someone who isn't ready to meet you in full presence. The turning point comes the moment you stop chasing. And I don't mean half-heartedly. I mean fully, unequivocally stepping back. For an avoidant, this is seismic. They're used to patterns. Your pursuit, your reassurance, your effort to fill the emotional gaps they can't face themselves. And suddenly, it's gone. You've stopped caring, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity and self-respect. That shift hits differently than anger, confrontation, or guilt-tripping ever could. Here's why avoidants don't often respond to direct emotional appeals. They respond to absence. They respond to boundaries. When you stop chasing, when you stop filling the voids they've always counted on someone else to patch, they begin to notice the emptiness they've taken for granted. This is the moment they pause. They may feel confusion, frustration, even a little panic, but underneath it all, there's a spark of self-reflection. For once, the mirror isn't blurred by your pursuit. It's clear, and they see their own role in the dynamic. And this is not about manipulation. It's about clarity and truth. By stepping back, you're not trying to force them to change. You're letting reality speak for itself. You're letting the consequences of their avoidance unfold naturally. And that moment, when they truly realize that you're no longer invested in filling the gaps they won't face, can trigger more insight than 1,000 arguments ever could. The power is in your indifference, not your resentment. It's in the freedom to stop negotiating for someone's attention and the courage to stand firm in your own value. Because once you stop chasing, the avoidant finally sees what's real, what's absent, what's lost, and sometimes what could have been. And that clarity is yours entirely. Once an avoidant realizes you truly don't care anymore, something remarkable often happens. They are forced into self-reflection. Avoidants are skilled at distraction, at keeping their emotional distance, and at avoiding confrontation with their own feelings. But loss is a different teacher. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't plead. It doesn't bend to wishful thinking. Loss demands awareness. And when they feel the weight of your absence, that is when the mask of indifference cracks, even if just a little. You'll notice subtle signs: hesitation, introspection, perhaps even attempts to reach out. But they are not the same as a change in heart. What is happening internally is far more complex. The avoidant begins evaluating their own choices, asking themselves questions they've long avoided. Did I take them for granted? Did I push away someone who truly cared? Why did I sabotage what was right in front of me? These are not easy questions to answer. They trigger discomfort because avoidance is rooted in fear, and fear resists accountability. But here's the lesson for you: this process isn't about them proving their worth. It's about understanding patterns, seeing clearly, and recognizing what you will no longer tolerate. Observing an avoidance reflection in the mirror of your absence is illuminating, but it is not where your power lies. Your power lies in choosing yourself, in holding your boundaries, in allowing reality to unfold without trying to fix or explain it. When you stop chasing, the avoidant may finally confront themselves, but you've already confronted your own truth. You've realized that emotional sovereignty is not a threat, it's a declaration. And in that declaration, you find freedom, the freedom to release someone who can't meet you, and the clarity to step fully into the life and love you deserve. Now, let's focus on the emotional shift in you, because that is where the real transformation begins. Stepping back from an avoidant is not just a tactical move, it's an act of self-preservation. For too long, you may have invested energy, hope, and even your own peace into someone who could not meet you fully. The moment you stop, something shifts inside you. Boundaries replace chasing. Clarity replaces confusion. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, your emotional energy returns to you. This is not about punishment or games. It's about reclaiming yourself. When you stop negotiating for attention, when you stop justifying their distance, you begin to experience what it means to prioritize your own needs, your own growth, your own presence. And here's the fascinating truth. Avoidants often notice this shift more than any argument or confrontation ever achieved. Your calm, composed detachment becomes a mirror. They see that you are whole without them, that you are not reliant on their approval or engagement. The emotional shift in you is both a declaration and a liberation. It signals that you are no longer willing to participate in a dynamic that diminishes your worth. You are choosing your peace over their pattern, your clarity over their confusion. And in doing so, you create space for authenticity, for them to engage on real terms, or for you to step fully into a life where your emotional energy is respected and reciprocated. The lesson is profound, yet simple. Your value is not tied to someone else's capacity to engage with it. By standing in your own power, you not only protect your heart, you illuminate the reality of the relationship itself. And in that illumination, you discover the most radical act of all: freedom, clarity, and unshakable self-respect. Once an avoidant realizes you are no longer invested, the relationship enters a crossroads. This is the point where patterns become visible, where choices matter more than words. Some avoidants will attempt reconnection. They might reach out, test boundaries, or offer gestures that seem sincere. Others will retreat further, confirming the truth you may have already sensed. They are not prepared to meet you on equal emotional footing. Both paths reveal clarity, but they do so in different ways. It's essential to understand that any response from them is about their own process, not your validation. If they engage, it is often triggered by the absence they have long taken for granted. This is their opportunity to reflect, to confront the consequences of avoidance. But if they do not respond, it is equally revealing. It shows where they truly are, what they are capable of, and how much they are willing or unwilling to invest in a connection. In either case, your role is not to repair or convince. Your role is to witness, to observe, and to act from a place of informed presence. This moment strips away illusions. It exposes patterns that were once invisible, illuminates emotional mismatches, and highlights where your energy has been overextended. And here's the paradox: the avoidance reaction, or lack thereof, is a gift. It gives you unfiltered truth, the kind that arguments, apologies, or pleading never provide. The ultimate lesson is that clarity comes from detachment, not pursuit. By stepping back, you see the real architecture of the relationship. You see who is capable of meeting you and who is not. And in that vision, you gain something more valuable than reconciliation: perspective, empowerment, and the confidence to fully align your energy with people who truly deserve it. The ultimate lesson in all of this is that self-respect is transformation. When you stop chasing an avoidant, when you stop negotiating for attention that will never be fully given, you are not just reclaiming your time. You are reclaiming your power. This is where personal growth becomes tangible. You begin to see clearly what you will no longer tolerate, and in that clarity, you discover freedom. Freedom from patterns that drain you, freedom from the anxiety of wondering if your worth is conditional, and freedom from the emotional treadmill of trying to fix someone who cannot fix themselves. Here's the truth you cannot change an avoidant. You cannot force them to feel, to engage, or to meet you in the full presence of your emotional reality. What you can do is change yourself. You can choose boundaries, clarity, and dignity over chasing, confusion, and compromise. You can choose to align your energy with people who are capable of meeting you halfway, instead of expending it on those who cannot. And in doing so, you set a standard, not just for them, but for everyone in your life. This is not a threat or a punishment. It is a declaration that your heart, your time, and your presence are valuable, that you will no longer settle for partial connection when full presence is possible. And the most profound truth of all is this: the moment you embody this clarity, the avoidance, absence, or return becomes irrelevant. What matters is the unshakable foundation you have built within yourself. So take this insight and let it transform the way you engage with relationships. Step back, observe, and protect your heart. Because true power, true freedom, and true love, both for yourself and for others, begin when you choose yourself first. And that choice, above all, cannot be taken from you.